All right, we are live. Yay, woohoo. Welcome, 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 everybody. I've got my dear friend Christy Clemens Hoffman with me today, and my new friend Mariah. How do you pronounce your last name, Mariah? In
In
Dutch?
English, I make it into Terluin. In Dutch,
Terlouwen.
it's
Okay.
Terluin. So
Okay.
Terluin. Yeah.
Welcome, welcome, Christy and Mariah. So, we're going to talk about from skeptic to seeker today. So, those new on the awakening path. And so excited to have you guys here with me. As we get started, I'll have Christy and Mariah introduce themselves. So, Christy, would you share with the folks who you are, where you are, and what you do? And then how'd you get into all of this QHHT stuff?
That is the $64,000 question. My
Mhm.
name is Christy Clemens Hoffman, and I'm based in the Kansas City area. And I do readings, Reiki, and regression. So I'm a medium, a spiritual medium, a Reiki master, and of course, a level 3 QHHT practitioner, which I dearly love. Also, I am quick to be reminded by Holly, an author, a best-selling author
Best-selling author.
a
Yes.
best-selling author
Yes.
and award-winning podcast host. And I've got two podcasts, Real Life Angel Encounters and Radiate Wellness. Holly's been on that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And
Yay.
yay. And that is me. How I got into this. Oh, it's a crazy story. My husband and I broke up. And I started searching for meaning, found Dolores Cannon, of course, searching for soulmates and karma and all that type of thing. Found Dolores, and as they say, the rest is history.
Or her story.
Herstory, thank you so much.
You and Dolores.
Oh,
Her story.
yeah, our story.
Way cool. Way cool. So out of tragedy, like so many
Oh,
people we meet,
well, and
they
you start
find.
searching things like that. You start searching
Mhm.
for karma, soulmates, UFOs, ETs. All roads lead to Dolores.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So and as we talk about from skeptic to seeker today, maybe some people resonate because they're in the middle of their tragedy that's actually an awakening. Because I
Absolutely.
came to this through tragedy too. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
How about you, Mariah? So where are you?
Yeah. I'm
And
in
how'd you get
Berlin,
here?
Germany. And for me, it wasn't tragedy, but I have to say it was the life before QHHT was completely different. Like there was no spiritual life for me at all. And then when all the special things started to happen, yeah, my life just turned 180.
Mhm.
And that happened when actually a friend of mine gifted me the book Many Lives, Many Masters from Brian
Oh,
Weiss.
yeah.
And that was the very first time I've ever even heard about past life regression. And I'm reading this book and I'm super fascinated. I'm really eating it up. I'm finishing almost, a third of the book in one evening. But at the same time, I was also really confused. I'm like, what? Like, is this real? Because no one in my life has ever really talked to me about this. I don't have my own personal experience around this. So what to believe? I was really, yeah, in both ways.
Mhm.
Then the next morning, something happened which catapulted me into completely changing my life. Because I woke up and I'm walking to the bathroom and I'm again thinking about this thing. Is it real? Is it not real? And at this moment, I heard a voice, and this voice said, "You knew about reincarnation all along. It's just time for you to remember it now."
Wow.
And that came together with a whole lot of goosebumps and like electrified shocks throughout my body. It was really intense.
Wow.
But it was enough for me to be like, okay, so this is real. And then I need to know everything there is to know about past life regression, about spirituality, really in general, because I didn't know anything about these things.
Mhm.
And that eventually led me to Dolores Cannon.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
All
Wow.
That's
roads, all
yeah,
roads.
exactly like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, what would we have done without her? And think about
Yeah.
this, like from skeptic to seeker, she was shunned by her community.
Mm,
They were talking 60 years ago, right? When she first started and was kicked out of her church and, she was surrounded by the skeptics and there
right.
she was a seeker in the middle of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank goodness for her persistence and stubbornness.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
because
what I also really love about her is that Dolores is never trying to convince anyone. She's
Yeah.
just sharing what it is that she finds,
Yeah.
And for so many people, it resonates, even though it's maybe the first time they hear it. It's like,
hmm Yeah.
already know that.
Yeah. This is how I describe her books. So I give away at the end of my QHHT sessions, I give away one of her books.
Mm.
And I let the clients pick which one. I just got a handful of them because she only wrote 21 books, but I don't have all 21. And here's how I describe her books. If the person's never read one of her books, I said, okay, so, and I flip through the book, I flip it open, and I'm like, look, the entire book is nothing but hypnosis transcripts. And that's all. That's all of her books are. Is just hypnosis transcripts, cover to cover. And I said, so what she's basically doing is she's telling you what they said. You've got to figure out what you believe. She's not preaching. She's not telling you what to believe. She's just saying, they said this. You go figure out what you believe, right? And I love that about how she writes. Yeah.
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 Right. She has no agenda.
Mm-mm. Nope. Just reporting.
Yeah.
Just-
Just,
Yeah.
yes, recorder of lost knowledge.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Love,
Yeah,
love that.
right.
All right. So Chrissy, I do want you to talk about your new book though, because it is kind of like a Dolores book, right? It's about these encounters, it's reporting, right? Actual encounters. Can you
Well,
say just a little bit about your new book?
I would love to talk about my new book. It's one of my
Okay.
favorite subjects. So, so I have two podcasts, like I mentioned, and one is Real Life Angel Encounters, and it did win Best Storytelling Podcast out of Women in Podcasting. And it is just as the name implies, real people like all of us telling me their stories of miraculous encounters. It's all kinds of things. Yes, there can be angels with wings, but that's in the minority. Many of these stories have to do with loved ones who are appearing, or we're stranded on the side of the road, and here comes a stranger at the right time, ready to help, and then departs very quickly. There's stories of being in the right place at the right time for things to happen. There's even a story of aliens. And in the book, there is a story of a guardian angel that came out of a QHHT session. This woman had a lifetime where she was a guardian angel, and that was fascinating.
Wow.
And I've since had a couple of other QHHT sessions where people were having lives as angels that were on the podcast. So those will be in upcoming books as well. So it's really pretty cool. Yeah, this lifetime was the guardian angel. She talked about this little boy that she watched over and watching him grow up. And then I wanted to see where she learned how to do all the things that she knew how to do. And she guided us up to the school where all of the guardian angels were learning what they needed to learn.
That is so freaking cool. So
Yeah, I
freaking
love
cool.
that.
Yeah.
I've had a regression like that as well.
Did you? Oh, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
then on the podcast, there was one from Violetta Stoica, our mutual friend. And she'd had a client with another lifetime as he, for all intents and purposes, looked kind of like Archangel Michael. So she told me her story. And then Sasha, I don't know how to say her
Yeah.
last, Sasha
Yeah.
in California.
Uh-huh.
She had a story from one of her sessions
Uh-huh.
about angelic being.
Well, I've got one for you for your next book. So hit me up because I had a client who regressed to the angel who was at the birth of duality.
Wow. Oh, I love
Okay,
that.
well,
Ooh,
She
that's
was
abstract.
you
she
need
was
to be
the
on the podcast.
she was the light one when the dark one came in to create duality, and she knew as an angel that was going to happen, right? And had signed up to be, the present at the birth of duality. So, yeah, okay, we'll talk. We'll talk. Woo!
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. So today we're going to focus on from skeptic to seeker. And can I tell the story I was telling you guys about my client about a month or so ago? So I do psychotherapy as well, and as QHHT. And this local gentleman in Durango, Colorado, called me and was actually having a mental health crisis, as he called me, which is not terribly unusual as a therapist. And so we sat and chatted on the phone for a long while, and he had he works outside, which, I'm in the middle of wilderness, which a lot of people do. And like he works with like heavy equipment like chainsaws and really loud equipment in the forest. And he would wear sound canceling headphones and listen to music to help, drown out the noise that he was working with. And he started listening to binaural beats and in the music that he would listen to while he was working. And he realized it started making him feel a little funny, his words, right? And then, but he kept doing it. It felt good, and he kept doing it. And then one day he's at work and he had this like his body stopped moving and he said he could see his entire life before his eyes, like he said he couldn't really describe it because every conversation, every moment, every emotion, every experience, he was reliving all at once. He was so caught up in that moment. And then when that moment passed, he's like, am I dying? He's thinking he's getting ready to die. And then he's like, all of this like light, like streams of light started coming into his head, and then he knew things. And so needless to say, he quit work that day after all of this lasted, he said, less than 20 minutes, this epiphany moment. And excuse me, he quits work for that day, and goes home and he's like, just kind of like dumbfounded, like what just happened? Completely not religious, completely not spiritual, just an ordinary, hardworking guy, out in the forest. And he's telling his wife, and then she's all worried. And then he's like telling all of his friends and his family, did you know this? And did you know that? Did you know there's reincarnation? Do you know we don't die? Did you know that you can talk to anybody you want to talk to at any moment? And he's just like overwhelmed with how wonderful, all this information is that he now has, this spiritual information. And his family, they're not on board. And so a couple days later, they all round him up in the dining room and they're like, you need to get some help because we're really, really worried about you. We need, do you need to go to the hospital even? Like we're really worried about what you're talking about now. And so that's when he started reaching out for therapists. And then, of course, he found me. And I'm like, oh, you're not crazy at all. You're like, you're you're the healthiest one of everybody that's trying to get you fixed, right? You're the one that is fixed. And and so anyway, we've been working together now for a few weeks, and and just how overwhelming how his life has changed in that single moment, and just amazing, but how everybody around him genuinely thought he was going crazy and needed to be hospitalized and medicated because of what he was saying, when what he was saying was the truth. But they didn't know it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say too, I've had people come into my office, they think that they are crazy.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Themselves. It's like there's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
I am going crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And because, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's conspiracy, maybe it's accident, but the truth has been covered up, right? The truth has been twisted.
The
Right.
truth can be inconvenient too. I mean, of course, because religion being the opiate of the masses keeps us under control and funnels us into a certain direction. So
Yeah.
bucket system are going off into something that is not aligned with the spirituality of the location where we are, the family that we're born into. That can be really inconvenient because you're supposed to conform. You're supposed to be like us.
Right.
Right. You're supposed to be a follower.
Right.
You're supposed to be a follower.
Right. Right.
It's interesting because I have a lot of clients too that come and they think that they're the only ones in their life that are believing in these things or having these experiences. And they're like, there's no one. I cannot talk to anyone. I'm like,
Right.
okay, I always make a mental note. I'm like, I'm going to ask your higher self about that because
Mhm.
probably there is someone in your environment that is actually going through the same thing. And
Right.
almost all the this is the case.
Right. Right.
You know, because if
And
everybody stays in the
yeah,
closet, then nobody's going to meet each other on that.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, almost every client sits down and goes, okay, well, I've never told this to anyone else, but, right. And
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
it's
if
really
you guys,
weird, but
yeah, if you guys would just like start talking amongst yourselves, right?
You know, the best piece of business advice I ever got, after I got laid off from Hallmark in 2015, Hallmark had paid for people to take entrepreneurial classes, and the teacher of this class, I said, well, I was mentioning that I wanted to start this holistic wellness company, but I also do translations, and how do I keep these two worlds separate, like the corporate translations and then the healing stuff? And she said, no, you be you be authentic. She said, I speak French and I speak ghost. And you need to be out front and open, like being out with all of it. And that was the best piece of advice I'd ever gotten, because then I started talking to people about, my experiences and what I was wanting to do and what I was building. And there were so many people who also were on board with this. I was very surprised. And, I grew up believing these things all my life, but I just never had any context or frame of reference for it because there was nobody to talk to that I knew.
Because nobody was talking about it, but everybody was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You know
was
what?
lucky. I
Yeah.
was living in Canada at the time, and I feel Canadians are quite open-minded and also already quite spiritually evolved, further so than from the Netherlands, where I'm originally from. And when this happened to me, this spiritual awakening, I started talking to everybody about it. Like, even the gynecologist who says, "Oh, what's new with you?" I'm like, "Well, I got something to tell you." And everyone was just like, "Wow, that's amazing," because they saw how enthusiastic I was. And I
Right.
was so surprised because so many people said, "Oh, me too. Oh, I believe this too." Or, "Oh, I've done a regression before." Or whatever. It's only been once that I encountered a person that was like, "Oh, well, that's not for me." And I was like, "Oh, that's totally fine. I'm not here to convince. I'm just sharing what's new with me."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you start to talk to people and you just find out all of these people who are kind of in the background. You guys know the story of the Jesus fish. Do you know the story, the
Not
simple
sure.
line drawing the fish?
Right.
Well,
Right.
in
Yeah.
the early days of the church, being a follower of Jesus was like, that was on the down low. That was dangerous. And
Yeah.
so if you'd be talking with somebody and you think, well, they seem kind of like they might be cool, you'll draw an arc in the sand with your toe. And if the other person recognizes that and also is on a on the down low believer, they will close that arc and make the
Oh,
fish.
I never heard
Wow,
that.
that's
That's
A secret
beautiful.
cool.
symbol.
That's
Yeah,
way
yeah.
cool.
Wow.
Way cool.
Amazing.
Way
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Chrissy, your business mentor and their advice reminds me though, you and I were just talking about my favorite channeler right now is Ann Tucker.
Tucker.
Love her work. I don't know if you heard of Ann.
No, I'm writing it down.
Yeah,
I
it's
am so excited.
ANNE.
I'm going to be on her show.
So
Hmm.
excited for you. It's just amazing. She channels the angelic realm.
Okay.
And go look at Friday. So every Friday she does a channeling. And then the other thing I love about Anne, she not only channels the angelic realm, but she with her audience kind of breaks down the message, and reinterprets the message from a human standpoint. And the entire Friday, this past Friday, was about authenticity.
Hmm.
And that's how you get to 5D. Like,
Hmm.
like, everybody who's listening, the angels say, if you're hearing me, you're on the cutting edge, right? You're the way showers. You're the light workers that are bringing people to the new earth. And so it's this particular last Friday was about how do you be a way shower? How do you be a light worker and help usher, in and their primary message was authenticity. Just be authentic. Yeah.
I had a session last week, and out of that session came that love isn't the highest frequency. Being yourself is the highest frequency.
Wow.
Ooh,
That
I
a good
like
one?
that.
Yeah. That one gave me goosebumps. I'm like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
totally it.
Wow.
To
Well,
live in
and
full integrity with yourself means being in integrity with your higher self.
yeah.
Wow.
And think about it. And the angels kind of went here and there before and thought about this before as well. If when we think about the new earth, and we might need to unpack that for folks that are listening, but the evolution of humanity into a higher dimension, okay, as a brief explanation, we're going to be telepathic.
Yes.
So think about trying to be inauthentic when
Mhm.
everybody's telepathic. How's that going to work?
How's
Yeah,
it
that
going?
doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can only, there's only truth when you're telepathic. But I
Yeah.
think that's also the exact reason why we're not telepathic right
Yeah.
now, because there's been all these layers of hiding or masking
Yeah.
that is blocking the telepathic connection. Because I remember a past life that I had, it was one of my first regressions actually. And I was a Native American, and I was appointed a role called the Twisted Hair.
Hmm.
And I had to travel through different tribes to share stories and keep the legends and the myths alive. And the main way of communication was telepathic.
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
Mhm.
yeah. So it was here, and I think
Mhm.
probably in many cultures, but
Mhm.
somehow we've been through a long ass phase where there's not been too much room for truth, you know?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
have you guys been listening to the telepathy tapes?
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it so
The
much.
best.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
Yes.
so
Yes.
good.
And I
And
do
it's
think
also really good for new seekers because I feel it's the same with,
right.
near death experiences. These are things that they're just there. Everybody
Mhm.
has had these
Mhm.
encounters that are from all
Mhm.
walks of life, not necessarily
Mhm.
spiritual.
Mhm.
And this is one of the other things. Like these people have access to something way beyond ourselves. It's one
Yeah.
of these other bridges, I feel.
I think this is our human evolution
Yeah.
Mhm.
is to move toward this telepathy and
Yeah.
that everybody's going to have this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So cool.
And I listen to those telepathy tapes and I just think about the mothers and the children and the
Mhm.
souls, the grandness of the souls that agreed to take that. Oh my gosh, what kind
Mhm.
of ascended masters are in these little kids' bodies that are nonverbal autistics that are just like,
Yeah.
geez, like how to agree to incarnate in that situation. I'm just like, whoa,
Yeah.
So
not worthy.
yesterday I went to a graduation party for one of the kids at my church. You know, I was a Sunday school teacher for decades, and one of these girls just graduated high school. She's 17 and she's got Down syndrome.
Uh-huh,
And then her other friends were there. They all these kids with Down syndrome. My goodness, the
uh-huh,
love from these kids, the
uh-huh.
openness. They do not know a stranger. Everybody is loved. Everybody is cherished. It is beautiful to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. So if somebody watching is thinks they might be going through a spiritual awakening, like how would you know? What are you looking for to know that this is really a spiritual awakening and not a mental health crisis?
Right.
Hmm.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. And I know a couple of people who are really struggling with this right now. And I think one of the things that we need to understand is that so one of the things we might experience is that just nothing makes sense the way it did before,
Mhm,
right? The
Yeah.
way you look at everything is shifting and changing.
mhm,
That the things that you once believed and held dear just all of a sudden, without much explanation, just don't make sense anymore. And the
mhm,
people around you um, don't understand what's changed within you. And you
mhm.
might not even understand
Yeah,
why. It just doesn't make sense.
yeah.
Mhm. And that also accompanied with this heightened sensitivity that all
Mhm.
of a sudden you're feeling much more, you're receiving much more information, much more understanding about things
Mhm.
that just shifts the foundation that you're standing on. And I feel that period where it's moving can be quite intimidating. I remember when I went through that, it was also exhilarating because it does also feel very good, but it's also intimidating because it's like, when is that shifting going to stop and be a little bit more solid again? You know, there's a time where you kind of have to just surrender to it because there's not much you can do against it, I feel.
Mhm,
Right. It's like
Yeah.
the rug's being pulled out from under
Yeah.
you in a
mhm.
way.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially if you've grown up and been indoctrinated in very rigid belief systems as a child or within your family. Yeah.
Mhm.
And
I
so
think another important mark, because I do in my psychotherapy work, I do generally work with people recovering from trauma which means usually some form of abuse, and whether it's self-abuse through addiction or self-harm or being abused from partners and whatnot. Um, the big difference, I think, between a mental health crisis and a spiritual awakening is there's only this exhilaration, as you said, Mariah, or love in the spiritual awakening. It feels good. There's zero fear. There's no fear. So if you're feeling fear, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling like hurting yourself or hurting someone else, that is
Yeah.
not a spiritual awakening. That is a mental health crisis. Um, but not to say that a spiritual awakening feels comfortable, but it isn't hateful.
Right.
Mm.
Well, and
Yeah.
also be prepared to lose contact with people around you
Mm,
because they just don't, you're not operating by the same rules anymore.
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they might find your new, like my client, they might find your newfound awareness very uncomfortable to their belief systems, and they're not ready to change their belief systems.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, with my husband, it took a while for him to grow into it. And I always just kept being very transparent with him. Whatever I was experiencing, whatever I was reading, I was always including him in it. And after a while, he really saw this massive change in me. And that's when he started asking questions. He's
Mm.
like, but what about this? How does this work?
Yeah.
Oh, you tried that. Should I try that too? And all of a sudden, very slowly but surely, he completely also turned into that direction.
Uh-huh.
Love
Yeah.
that. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Right.
Yeah, but I think the opposite of that. I love the way you did that, Mariah, because what you weren't doing is saying you have to believe this,
No,
You're
no.
wrong, right?
No, I
And
learned that when I became vegan. I'm like, oh, I did that for a while and it did not work. And it didn't feel good either. And then when spirituality happened, it's like, okay, I'm not going to convince anyone. It's just, I'm just speaking from my own experience and that's all I can do.
yeah.
Their
Yeah.
choice
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? It's their choice. Right.
Yeah. And they have their own higher self. That's another part that I also really considered. It's like, whatever is right for them is what they are dealing with right now. I have no idea. How can I know what's good for them?
Well, and
Right.
I keep having to remind myself that someone who's going through life where they're not having a spiritual awakening, that is just as valid of a journey as anything else.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
I'm here to experience that contrast and to be the foil to someone who is going through a spiritual awakening,
Mhm.
so that it heightens their experience.
Right.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't really discount anybody else's experience at all.
Right. Exactly.
Mm.
Maybe they had another life as a Tibetan monk, and their entire life was
Right.
spiritually oriented.
They
But
already
this,
tackled that.
right. But this one, they're a car mechanic, and
Right.
yeah, they're not going to do that. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. New experience.
Hmm.
Exactly. Doing
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is one of the hardest, I think one of the hardest things when you get a little way, not right at the moment of awakening, because it's usually just like, what? But, maybe months or a year or so into it, depends on the person. When you do have to look around and go, oh, I don't resonate with these people anymore,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
at all.
It can be really lonely
Hmm.
Yeah.
until you find your tribe.
Hmm.
And I don't know
Yeah.
about you ladies, but I get so many people in my office saying, I just need to find my people. Where do I go to find people who I can relate to? That's a
Hmm.
big question a lot of folks have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Find their tribe.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
that moment of loneliness of like, wow, I can't have that conversation about, name a celebrity or whatever,
Right.
I can't, or the newest pair of shoes,
Yeah. Yeah.
from
Years.
so and so or whatever. Um,
Or
whatever.
even watch the regular movies. I
Yeah,
remember at the time when my husband loved watching movies, I would literally just look around in the living room because I couldn't be bothered looking at this screen. I was just kind of meditating next to it,
right. Or the
sitting in
news,
present,
the news, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Right.
does nobody else see how scripted this is? You do realize this is entertainment and not information, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
News should be new entertainment we share.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good one.
So some of the things that come through, like my client, like, did you know? Did you know we don't die? Did you know you can talk to anybody? Did you know there's no time? Um, so one of the things that you begin to realize is that you manifest everything, right? Everything, right? So one of the big shockers that a lot of people have expressed to me is, well, yeah, but I didn't manifest my cancer. Well, yeah, but I didn't manifest losing my job. Are you telling me I manifested, I didn't manifest my kids', disability. Um, and so there's some really serious stuff out there, right? Really hard parts of life, pain and suffering. And then when you realize, oh, yeah, I even manifested that. I don't know. That might be worse than the loneliness. I don't know.
I get in
But
trouble all the time by suggesting that somebody manifested a disruption in the family or an illness, or I've just stopped.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
that's
to be
hard.
honest, this is why I find our work so fascinating, because people are getting the answers why they manifested that, or what it is that they wanted to learn from such an experience without us having to tell them anything.
Mhm.
In every session, this basically comes full circle.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's really hard. To me, the hardest time to see that is, well, but actually both of my clients at the end of last week, Thursday and Friday, they both came from very abusive households, physical abuse and beatings at the hands of their parents. And so here's a little kid being beaten, and you really believe that little kid manifested that? It's like, I'm sorry. And over again, yeah, in QHHT sessions, yeah, she chose that father. That father's a part of her soul family. That father agreed to be the villain because she wanted to learn compassion. And she's an old soul. She's learned compassion 755 other ways, and she wanted to learn it this way. And it's like, ugh, that's really, really hard.
Right.
Yeah.
When people start to have their spiritual awakening, they might be open to these kind of concepts, whereas they would have been completely foreign and,
Mhm.
Seemingly to be victim blaming, which is not at all.
No.
No, but
And that is not to say that if you see a little kid being beaten, you walk by and you go, "Oh, they agree to that." No.
manifest.
No, if you're witness to that, you stand up for the vulnerable. You absolutely you've been put in that position to stand up to the vulnerable.
Yeah.
But you can, when you're spiritually awake, you can recognize that you can defend the vulnerable and understand the karmic perspective that there is actually something to be gained from that situation at the soul level.
Right.
Yeah, and I feel as soon as that perspective is there, as soon as they know, like, oh, I wanted to experience this to learn something or to overcome something or to acquire a certain quality within myself, then it's no longer a pattern.
Right.
Then that doesn't have to come back in all different shapes and forms, because now you have accomplished that. Now you have fully, made that conscious.
Yeah.
A book that I absolutely love is The Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. Are you familiar with that?
I love him, but I don't know this one.
Well, it comes from Conversations with God, and
Yeah.
some pulled it out of that and turned it into a beautifully illustrated children's book. And this
Nice.
just perfectly explains how one little soul makes an agreement with another little soul to learn forgiveness, to learn compassion. And I think it just illustrates so perfectly this whole concept of we chose this thing, and that, we can still look at people with forgiveness and compassion and grace. They do something bad. So yeah, I love that just as a model for how this all works.
Yeah. 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 It's tough. You'll also have clients that, and not to be ageist here, but they tend to be my older clients, and I have so much gratitude for the generation of my mother's generation, so the people that are in their 80s now, 80s and older now,
Mhm.
and you can kind of see the birthing of the new earth because when you have clients of that generation, 75 plus, let's say right now, the traumas that they experienced, just the density of the world in their youth and what was going on, in the middle of World War II and all of that.
Yeah.
And it was really, really challenging. And I find that if I have clients of that generation, and of course I'm stereotyping, generalizing here, so it's not everyone, but in general, they'll want they'll come to their QHHT session having yearned for that spiritual epiphany their whole life and never having received it.
Mm.
They will have heard about it, and there's this huge desire, and they think, it's kind of like this this QHHT session is their last ditch effort, to have this epiphany or whatever. And it's generally not. It's generally just like routine, higher self given answers kind of thing. But it's like, and then they'll wake up and they'll go, yeah, but I already knew that. And you're like, yeah, you already knew that, right? But just this like, just this can never actually reach it, right? And I think that was the purpose of people that chose to incarnate in that density. Like sometimes there has to be the experience of the not spiritual awakening in an incarnation. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Does.
Do you
It
guys
does.
see that?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and well, and we can't force it. We
Yeah.
can desire it and think that there's something else out there, but we cannot force it. It happens when it needs to happen. Yeah, but I know I totally understand what you're saying.
And like the little kids in the telepathy tapes, it's like they're not going to have a spiritual awakening because they're never going to be asleep.
Right.
So there's not going to be an awaken, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in this weird generation, this weird moment where we can wake up because we recognized asleep and now we're going to recognize awake, but there was a generation before that couldn't wake up and there's going to be a generation after that was never asleep.
Well, you think of
Yeah.
Dolores's book, The Three Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
that first wave was so crucial. Were they all awakened? No, but they
Mhm.
needed to set the
Right.
stage. They needed to, and I'm thinking about the Indigo generation specifically,
Mhm.
but it overlaps there. That there's this generation that came in, created civil rights movement,
Mhm.
feminist movement,
Mhm.
anti-war movement, really shook up the foundation for
Mhm.
these new waves of volunteers. And then in
Mhm.
terms of the indigo generation, then the crystal generation, the platinum, the gold, the rainbow,
Mhm.
all of these newer kids coming in, building on the scaffold.
Yeah.
And we
Yes.
have that growth without that scaffold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And if they hadn't done what they did, and if we're not doing what we did, then we'd
Mhm.
look at the telepathy tapes and go,
Yeah.
what?
What's
That's a bunch of,
that?
yeah, that's a bunch of hooey, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel that, information is now so accessible for everyone. Like we can get a book on whatever we want and get, do a training in different things that it also makes it so much more, yeah, it normalizes all these different spiritual perspectives. And it
Mhm.
really helps us to also integrate it. Because as
Mhm.
long as it's in a dark corner somewhere and being looked at as something strange or scary,
Yeah.
then it's a little harder to step into it as well. Whereas
Yeah.
now I feel you can surround yourself with it with ease. Everywhere you go, there's lots of offerings.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, the real life angel encounters came out of what I call the post COVID awakening.
Mhm.
Mm.
Here during COVID, we all needed to go inside, but we really needed to go inside.
Mhm.
So many people did.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were at home. They started watching YouTube, all these things that they were always maybe interested in, maybe wanted to know
Yeah.
more about, but they didn't know where to find it. And their watching YouTube, and then here comes the next video and the next video. Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh, all these things,
Yeah.
all of these things
Mhm.
started coming out, and people started really diving into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So cool. All right. So once you realize that you create everything, that everything outside of you is a reflection of you back to you, that you aren't a human having a spiritual experience, but your spirit having a human experience, right? Then what? What's the next step? Then what do you do? Once you're awake, now what?
You live with that knowledge and you incorporate the
Yep.
knowledge.
Mhm.
You know, I teach a class called Spirit Circle. We've been meeting every Monday or every week since October.
Mhm.
And we work on developing our gifts to bring spirit in so that we can work and live and operate in tandem with our spiritual side.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
it's so important. And it's not like you're going to go out and everybody's going to be a guru or anything like that.
Exactly.
It's that we're going to go out and we're going to have an awesome day working with spirit. We're going to manifest things much more quickly because we're working in tandem with spirit. We're going to hear from our higher self because
Right.
we're opening ourselves up.
Right.
And I should say I'm starting a new class July 31st called Opening to Channel, with the intention that people who go through this 4-week class of Opening to Channel, they can then join the Spirit Circle.
Oh, sweet.
Going that way.
Sweet.
That's exciting. It's actually something I ask almost in all of my sessions. At the end of the session, I ask the higher self, hey, how can they keep this dialogue going? How can they keep connecting to their higher self? How can they keep channeling their higher self? It's a really important part. And that's something that I love about doing regressions now. If I hear from, Dolores doing it 20 years ago when people were completely blacked out,
Right.
nowadays they have a level of awareness, which also means that they can bring that into their life. They can recognize what it sounds like or feels like when the higher self is speaking to them. So then it becomes just this integrated part in life.
Right. You don't need me in the room anymore. Just go talk amongst yourselves.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You build a
listening.
muscle memory.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Way cool. Way cool.
Yeah, it's almost
So,
like a session launches them into trusting this connection that has always already been there, but
yeah.
now they can hear it more clear,
Yeah. And I think too, I think that's the meaning of spreading your light, that once you've had your spiritual awakening, it's the old Zen saying, right? Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, after enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, right? You go on about your life. You still,
Yeah.
you do your 9 to 5, you do your commute, you do your whatever, but the aura has changed, your state of being has changed, and the doing all of that. There's still the doing, but your being is completely different. And your being different is what is spreading the light to others, right? It's
Yeah.
not what you're
And
doing.
mirroring different things.
Yeah, you're not standing on a street corner like, preaching. You showing up in the world differently is what's giving everybody else permission to show up differently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Wow. Way cool. All right. So how do you walk the spiritual journey with grace? Because we mentioned it's a roller coaster ride, right? There's some there's great things, there's some exhilaration, and there's some loneliness, there's some pain, there's people who are gonna drop out of your life, other people are
Yeah,
gonna
for me, it's always been really a twofold path, just for me personally. Like for me, it's spiritual development, but it's also always psychological or personal development.
Mm,
And I feel I need both for me to be and grounded and spiritual. If I'm only going into the spiritual, I become ungrounded, I become harder to relate to, I become maybe too abstract for people to bridge to me.
mhm,
If I'm only doing psychological work, yeah, the wonder and the awe and is out of it. And for me, it's really always been this two-step development that I always make sure that I'm also introspecting and reflecting and doing my psychological work or my therapy, while also building on my connection to the higher self, to my intuition, to my spirit guides. I think it's really important to have both of these.
mhm.
My guides always tell me we have to put the human in the human experience.
Yeah,
Exactly.
We did incarnate.
We wanted to be humans.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
A lot
Holly, you
of-
must see that too in your praxis,
Absolutely.
doing,
Absolutely. And that's a big part of the spiritual awakening as well
yeah.
is, and this, wait, I manifested all this. I chose all of this. Wait,
Mhm.
what? Yes, the human experience and all
Yeah.
parts of the human experience,
Yeah.
marriage, divorce, birth,
Mhm.
death,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Conditioning.
Yeah.
all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
And boundaries. I find so many people going through the spiritual
Mm.
awakening, and like Holly, like your client, the family is saying, okay, you're not right. We're going to make sure that you get fixed. But setting boundaries with
Mhm.
people in your life,
Yeah.
and that is one of the healthiest things we can do, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
there are times when you really have to make decisions about for your own sake, again, that marriage between psychology and spirituality and the boundaries, who are you going to allow in your life? And so then there's some tough decisions. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And I hear this also all the time with my clients.
Yeah.
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 But that's the beauty. I just ask, okay, who are the people in their life that they should be closer with or can open up more to? Who are the people that maybe are best to give a little bit more distance?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think also in the tenor of again, I go back to my mom and my dad, who I absolutely adore and very close to, and have the great fortune of them both to be living. Um, but um, I think that my spiritual awakening gave my mom a permission to awaken to a level that she would not have. And if I had early in my spiritual awakening made the choice of, oh, I'm not resonating with you, so therefore I'm not interacting with you, that would have been a very poor decision on my part for what eventually happened with her ability to witness my growth.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a little bit
Yeah,
complicated,
beautiful.
but yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard when the people around you just are not open to that.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be open to that. They're stuck in their programming and not wanting to see the changes that are happening with,
Mhm.
the person who's awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, another part of this walking the spiritual journey with grace, if there's something going on in a relationship or in because also too after you awaken, you see all the slavery in the world, like
Yeah.
all the slavery in the human experience.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about what culturally we call slavery, but like all the slavery, the control and the manipulation and everything. You begin to see that and then recognize, of course, that you chose this experience. But I think a big part of walking gracefully through that is understanding that if something about that is triggering you, if it's making you feel violent or angry or disturbed, then that's an opportunity for you to heal you, right?
100%.
And
Yep.
so that's a part of the grace of going, oh, that thing made me mad. Oh, I need to go inside and figure out where that trigger is in me, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if y'all listen to Matt Kahn, but he's a
Mm.
wonderful teacher. Yeah, he channels these amazing downloads, and he says whatever arises, love that. In fact, that's the type
Right.
of books. So anger comes up. Thank you, anger. Thank you for showing me I'm needing to adjust my thinking or look at something differently. Here's grief. Thank you, grief. Thank you for showing up. I love you.
Yeah.
What can I learn from you?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a client go, well, we live on a prison planet. Exactly. And you chose this prison planet experience. What are you getting from that? It's like, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. All right. So we are almost out of time. Let's see. We have online, we have Thoth, we have
Nice.
Miss Vicky, and we have Donna. If you guys have questions for anybody, please ask them in the chat. Christy, how do people get a hold of you if they want a session or they want to interact with you in any way?
My website is radiatewellnesscommunity.com. You can contact me through that, learn about myself and the other practitioners with us. You can listen to the podcasts, both of them. You can order my book. You can order Mary Jane Stodeman's book. She's one of our practitioners. And she lives not too far from you, Mariah. She's in Geneva, Switzerland. You can
Okay,
even
cool.
schedule an appointment there at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.
Awesome. And you're in Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas.
It's exotic for if people who are not from here. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and then I drive my car about 12 minutes and I get to my office in Kansas.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's in fact, my office is on State Line Road. On one side of the road, it's Kansas. Across the street, it's Missouri.
Mhm.
And that's a little exotic for some people to wrap their minds around. I just say Kansas City area.
Kansas City.
Right. I heard you say that. Yeah.
Northwestern Missouri and eastern Kansas.
Northeastern Kansas. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Prairie Village, Kansas, Kansas City, Missouri.
Right. It's the same for me when I say Durango, Colorado, because everybody says, "Oh, my aunt lives in," and then they name a suburb of Denver, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's an 8-hour drive from me."
I know. It's funny when some of the major acts like, well, Katy Perry actually did this right, but like Tom Petty or Cyndi Lauper, some of these big acts, they come and they perform at we call it the Sprint Center, even though it's called T-Mobile Center now. It's a whole thing.
Uh-huh.
But they'll perform, and that's in Kansas City, Missouri, and they'll say, "Hello, Kansas," and we all say,
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Very good. All right. Mariah, where do people find you?
Yeah, through my website, mariah.co, marije.co. And yeah, my main thing is doing one-on-one regressions right here in this space, actually. And I do a lot of group regressions. And these I do in Berlin, but also every now and then online. Yeah.
Way cool. Way cool.
Mhm.
Oh, was my microphone? No, my microphone just did something weird. All right. Way cool. And if you're on my channel, you know where to find me. And it's a soft launch right now, but Christy, you'll be happy to hear. My third book it's close. I don't have any copies yet, but they're being printed. It's available on Amazon. So I just finished up this trilogy. Donna says, love Matt Kahn. So there's a
yes, I do too. He's awesome.
So the newest book, well, let me start at the beginning. So the beginning of the trilogy is the book Finding Purpose, Surprising Wisdom from the Higher Self. And this was a compilation of over 400 QHHT sessions and the answers to what is my life purpose, what is my life lesson, and how do I commune with the higher self. Because it freaked me out when I first started doing QHHT that everybody was asking the same question. And then what really freaked me out was everybody's getting the same answer to the same question. And I was like,
Yes.
what? Okay, I have to share this because I know
Right.
what your purpose is. And spoiler alert, it's to be. Yeah. So that's Finding Purpose. And then I didn't know it was a trilogy when I wrote that. They didn't tell me that. And because I wouldn't have written any books if they had told me that I had to write 3. So then shortly thereafter, I found out, oh, it's a trilogy. So the second book was Finding Forgiveness, Surprising Healing from the Higher Self. And so it's a how-to on forgiveness, a 4-step process that the higher self gifted me. Everybody tells you need to forgive. Nobody tells you how to. So this is the how-to on forgiveness. And the 4 steps are see, accept, release, and move. And very specific, details about each of those 4 steps and how to do it. And then this newest book, and the content was really a surprise. I had no idea. It's the end of the trilogy, and they're intended to be read in sequence. They build on each other. And this is Finding Gratitude, Surprising Growth from the Higher Self. And it's this connection between living in a state of gratitude. So gratitude isn't well, I'm going to bless my food before I eat it, or I'm just going to say, thank you, God, for XYZ. That's not gratitude. That's not the gratitude they're talking about. They're talking about just the state of being receptive to everything, of being grateful for everything that comes up, everything that happens, and how that's connected to spiritual growth.
Mm-hmm.
And if we think about it, our soul is learning, right? That's soul growth. That's, our soul isn't omnipotent, right? Our soul is learning. Think about it like a little kid or a baby learning. And the way we experience our human incarnation can accelerate and affect the effectiveness of the soul growth. So we can kind of squeeze the lemon, squeeze the juice out of the human incarnation for the soul growth, which is the only reason we're here, by the way we show up in our state of being. And I was like, I had no idea. I had no idea there was this connection. So
Well, Holly, you'll have to come back to the Radiate Wellness podcast.
I know.
Tell me about
Yeah.
your book.
I know.
Reminds me, what's that?
I just literally got the email this morning that the ebook, the Kindle, is now available. And then I got to do all the uploads for the Audible. So I'm not really doing like a formal launch until all the puzzle pieces are in, but it's coming. It's coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations. It's very
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
It reminds me in a way of this book, The Power of Awe, which was written by two there's a medical doctor and an LPC at Stanford who wrote this book, The Power of Awe, about basically gratitude, right? Being in awe of everything and how that catapults our growth. So
yeah,
we're on to something here, Holly.
yeah. Well, they are. I'm just a conduit. I'm just the one typing, right, on the keyboard, receiving. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited. All right, let's see. We have some comments here. So Donna says, I had a QHHT session with someone trying to get their level 2. Would it be helpful to have another session? I know it typically only takes one, but I'm feeling a need for another one. And should I go with the same QHHT practitioner? That's a good one. There's great level 1 and level 2 practitioners out there. I mean, we were level 1 and level 2 practitioners at one point, right? And we do generally say you only ever need one session. I don't know. You guys have advice for Donna?
I feel like if you feel the pull, do it.
Yeah.
Right there, I see so many people that most people it's just one and done, but there's quite a few who say, well, now that I know what I'm doing, I want to see what else is there, or I've got more questions.
Yeah.
Or they get to that next stage of growth and they want to up level again.
Yeah.
And it's quite beautiful. I've had a lot of repeat clients in the last year, like people that came back after years of doing the first session. And it's amazing to see how the second session is, because often it's really a big difference, because now their hearts are fully open, they're fully trusting, there's no longer that like, oh, can I do it or not? Like they just dive in there and really get a whole different level of information.
Yeah. If you had a great relationship with this level 2, go back to him or her, build that relationship, continue to build that relationship. They'll know from a technique standpoint what worked well for you and be able to kind of accelerate that. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it, Donna. Go for it. Go play.
We're back.
All right. Miss Vicky says, I will have to watch this later. Oh, I'm working now. I know. It's yeah. Mariah's finishing her workday. Everybody in the West is starting their workday. Miss Vicky says, I'll have to watch this later. I'm working now, but hello, beautiful ladies, and thank you for the information in advance. Very good. Donna says, can we pre-order? You can't pre-order, but you can actually go order the paperback for Finding Gratitude on Amazon right now. So that's available. And then your book's fully available, right, Christy?
My book is fully available. Amazon, Goodreads, barnesandnoble.com. My favorite is bookshop.org.
Bookshop.org. Okay.
I love bookshop.org because you can specify an independent bookstore near you to receive the profits.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice. And did you do an audiobook? Are you going to do an audiobook?
No,
Your voice is so gorgeous. You got to do an
I
audiobook.
want to do an audiobook, but I'm going through a publisher. I know you
Oh,
you
okay.
love publishing. I'm going through
Mhm.
a publisher, and there's some hoops to jump through for that.
Yeah.
Mm.
I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of people that they'll ask for my books. They'll say, "Did you record it? Or do you have an audiobook?" And I'll say yes. And then their next question is, "Did you record it?" And I'm
Right,
like, "Yeah,"
right.
because they want the author
I want the
speaking
author.
the book.
I
Yeah.
agree. I want the
Mhm.
author to read it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, we are at it's 10:01. Yay, 10:01. Angel
Mhm.
number. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for your participation today. Woohoo.
For doing this, Holly.
Yeah, thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
It's so great
Yeah.
to meet you, Mariah.
And thank you all
Yeah,
the
very
early
nice meeting you guys.
thank you all the
Yeah.
early birds in the States for being online with us this morning. So, all right. All right. We are out.